The empath's ghost era, the hidden psychology behind deleting everyone and disappearing. The messages pile up. The screen glows in the dark, demanding your attention, but you turn it face down. You vanished. To the outside world, your sudden absence looks like a mystery. People whisper that you changed. They accuse you of turning cold. They think your silence is a weapon forged to punish them. But they fail to understand the architecture of your mind. Your silence is not a weapon. It is a sanctuary. You entered your ghost era. You deleted the numbers. You muted the endless noise. You stripped away the access people once held to your energy, your time, and your spirit. This choice did not stem from cruelty. It erupted from survival. For years, you operated as a lightning rod for the chaos of others. You absorbed the heavy, unspoken grief radiating from the people you loved. You anticipated their needs before they even recognized their own desires, and you poured your light into their shadows. It felt noble at first. It felt like a righteous purpose. Eventually, the sheer weight of their unresolved trauma threatened to crush your spine. Society demands empaths remain accessible. The world expects you to stay soft, to stay open, and to heal those who refuse to heal themselves. You gave until the act of giving became a hollow, mechanical routine. You reached a fracture point. Disappearing became the only viable strategy left. Stepping into the ghost era means pulling the plug on the machinery of pleasing others. It represents the raw, unflinching reclamation of your own nervous system. You stopped returning the texts because the mere vibration of the phone sent a shockwave of exhaustion through your bones. You retreated into the shadows to remember what your own breathing sounds like without the suffocating interference of someone else's panic. Do not let their confusion poison your newfound peace. They mourn the loss of your utility. They miss the free therapy, the endless patience, and the boundless grace you offered. You owe no one a polished explanation for saving your own life. The quiet deletion of these connections stands as a profound act of loyalty to yourself. Let them wonder. Let them misunderstand the distance. You are constructing an invisible fortress, and within these silent walls, your shattered spirit finally rests. People label empathy a gift. They romanticize your ability to read a room, calling it intuition or a magical sixth sense. Science reveals a harsher reality. Your nervous system functions without the protective filters most humans possess. You do not merely witness the pain of others. Instead, your body absorbs it. You digest it. When someone enters your space carrying unspoken rage, your brain registers their tension as an immediate physical threat. Your mirror neurons fire in rapid succession, replicating the hidden despair of a friend or the silent hostility of a stranger within your own biological framework. This is not imagination. It is a tangible, neurological event. At the center of this storm sits your amygdala. This almond-shaped cluster of nuclei acts as the primal alarm system of the brain. For the average person, the amygdala activates during moments of genuine danger, like a screeching car tire or a sudden fall. For an empath, the threshold operates on a different scale. Your amygdala relentlessly scans every subtle shift in your environment. It detects the micro-expressions of disappointment on a partner's face. It registers the forced, shallow breathing of a stressed coworker. The brain absorbs the heavy, stagnant energy of a room filled with unsaid conflict. Because your mind processes these invisible currents as active threats, your internal alarm bell never stops ringing. This continuous hypervigilance exacts a staggering physiological toll. Your adrenal glands respond to the screaming amygdala by pumping cortisol and adrenaline straight into your bloodstream. You spend years trapped in a chronic state of fight or flight, masking the internal panic with a calm smile. Your shoulders carry rigid tension. Sleep fragments into exhausting, restless cycles. You experience the physical drain of running a marathon while sitting frozen in a chair. The human body cannot sustain endless cortisol flooding. Your physical form begins to mirror your psychological depletion. Headaches bloom behind your eyes, and your stomach twists into tight knots whenever the phone buzzes. The mere thought of making small talk feels like moving heavy stones. Think of a sponge submerged in dark, contaminated water. It absorbs the liquid until every pore stretches to maximum capacity. Once saturated, the sponge cannot take in another drop. Your mind reached this exact point of saturation. You absorbed the grief, the panic, and the endless insecurities of everyone in your orbit until your cognitive load shattered. The ghost era begins when the amygdala demands an emergency shutdown. This sudden isolation stands as a biological imperative, not a selfish whim. Your brain forces you to cut the wires because the internal circuitry is burning alive. You crave dark rooms. You seek out the sound of rain or the quiet hum of an empty house. These cravings are not signs of depression. They are vital antidotes to chronic sensory overload. You did not vanish because you stopped caring. You disappeared because your nervous system initiated a forced reboot to prevent total collapse. The silence you constructed acts as a vital neurological tourniquet. It stops the hemorrhage of your energy. By deleting the contacts and stepping away from the crowd, you finally grant your exhausted amygdala the permission to power down. The awakening rarely arrives with thunder. It creeps in like a cold draft beneath a locked door. One ordinary afternoon, a text message lights up your screen, bringing another minor crisis. You stare at the flashing name. Suddenly, the veil drops. You realize the truth of your existence in their eyes. You are not a person to them. You are a resource. For decades, you mistook dependence for intimacy. People flocked to your warmth, claiming they valued your friendship, but they truly valued your utility. They arrived with empty hands and heavy hearts, expecting you to perform the alchemy of turning their despair into relief. You listened to their endless complaints. You validated their fractured egos. You poured your golden energy into their bottomless voids, hoping the tide of support would one day flow in reverse. The exchange remained perpetually one-sided. When you stumbled, the room cleared. Your moments of vulnerability met blank stares or rushed changes of subject. The parasitic nature of these bonds finally crystallized in your mind. You served as a human battery. They plug their chaotic lives into your grid, drawing raw power to regulate their own unstable nervous systems. The process left them revitalized and ready to face the world. It left you hollowed out, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. with a racing heart and a terrifying numbness. Psychology identifies this dynamic as emotional parasitism. In a healthy connection, two nervous systems engage in co-regulation. They share the biological load of daily stress, shifting seamlessly between offering support and receiving comfort. Parasitic relationships lack this vital reciprocal flow. They feature only a host and a consumer. Your dopamine and serotonin reserves depleted with every crisis you managed for someone else. You sacrificed your own neurochemical balance to keep them afloat. They thrived on the steady drip of your validation, treating your empathy as an endless, renewable commodity. They never stopped to calculate the cost of their consumption. The epiphany strikes hard. It shatters the illusion of shared loyalty, forcing you to review years of shared history through a ruthless new lens. Memories play backward, revealing the hidden architecture of exploitation. You see the transactional nature of every phone call, every midnight favor, and every tearful confession. You recognize that the moment you stop producing energy, you lose your value in their ecosystem. This realization brings a profound, icy clarity. A cold anger replaces the suffocating exhaustion. This is not a petty reactive rage. It is a primal protective fury rising from the core of your being. Your biology finally recognizes the persistent threat of these emotional vampires. Your psyche acknowledges the systemic theft of your vitality. Society will try to shame this sudden withdrawal. Culture insists that forgiveness and endless patience are the true hallmarks of a good person. Applying a moral framework to a biological emergency is a dangerous game. You cannot negotiate with a parasite. You cannot heal a one-sided bond by bleeding out faster. Deleting these connections requires zero hesitation. You do not send a warning text. You do not draft long paragraphs explaining your departure. You do not offer an exit interview or seek closure from people incapable of self-reflection. Closure implies a mutual understanding that never existed. You simply sever the cord. You block the numbers to stop the parasitic drain on your life force. You ghost the social circles that demanded your constant, quiet sacrifice. You remove the access points, shutting down the grid and keeping the current for yourself. This deletion stands as a sacred act of self-preservation. It signifies the permanent end of your tenure as a sacrificial lamb. The silence of the ghost era feels jarring at first. The absence of constant demands creates a strange echoing vacuum in your mind. You expect the phone to ring, bracing your shoulders for the inevitable crisis that never arrives. This initial discomfort is the lingering echo of your trauma. Your body still vibrates with the phantom hum of chronic stress waiting for a threat to materialize. Give the process time. The true biological reset has only just begun. Deep within your body lies a vital superhighway of information called the vagus nerve. It wanders from your brainstem, traveling down through your neck, wrapping around your heart, and weaving into your digestive tract. This nerve controls your ability to relax. It commands the parasympathetic nervous system, the biological network responsible for rest and digestion. For years, the chaos of other people suppressed this ancient biological system. You lived trapped in a sympathetic state of fight or flight, your engine burning fuel at maximum capacity just to survive the day. Isolation changes the chemical landscape of your anatomy. Without the external triggers of emotional vampires, your brain stops flooding your veins with cortisol. The vagus nerve awakens from its forced hibernation. It begins sending signals of safety back up to your brain. Your heart rate decelerates to a steady hypnotic rhythm. Your breathing deepens, expanding your lungs to their true capacity for the first time in a decade. This physical transformation requires strict digital and physical withdrawal. You cannot coax your nervous system into a state of safety while keeping one foot in the arena of chaos. Your brain needs undeniable proof that the threats are gone. By deleting the contacts and vanishing from the radar, you provide this proof. The physical walls of your room become a literal shield. The digital silence acts as a heavy blanket over a shivering frame. Notice how your sensory environment shifts during this isolation. The harsh glare of the outside world gives way to the soft glow of a single lamp. The chaotic roar of endless chatter fades into the ambient sounds of your own quiet space. This sensory reduction is a crucial element of the vagal reset. Your mirror neurons, once exhausted by reflecting the pain of 100 different faces, finally stop firing. They rest in the dark. Your brain utilizes this sensory deprivation to prune away toxic neural pathways forged by trauma, laying down fresh, resilient circuits in their place. As the parasympathetic nervous system takes command, your body begins repairing the hidden damage. Digestion improves. The knot in your stomach unravels, replaced by a grounding sensation of hunger for real nourishment. The crippling insomnia fades into heavy restorative sleep. Your cells process the backlog of metabolic waste accumulated during your years of hypervigilance. You are not just resting in this silence, you are actively regenerating tissue, neural pathways, and cognitive function. You might feel a wave of exhaustion hit you during this phase. Let the fatigue pull you under. Do not fight the urge to sleep for 12 hours straight. This profound tiredness does not equal laziness. It signifies the monumental effort your body exerts to rebuild your core infrastructure. Your biological battery hit zero, and recharging a shattered system demands massive amounts of energy. The ghost era facilitates this sacred biological mandate. It removes the static interference. It allows your vagus nerve to hum its soothing frequency without interruption. People outside your sanctuary will never grasp the necessity of this isolation. They view your withdrawal through the lens of social etiquette, missing the raw physiological reality of your survival. You pulled back from the world to let your body heal the microscopic fractures in your soul. The silence settles, and then the phantom guilt arrives. It creeps into the quiet spaces of your mind. Society conditioned you to believe that walking away makes you the villain. You feel the heavy, sickening ache of abandoning those who relied on you. But examine this feeling closely, because this guilt does not belong to you. It is a lingering symptom of your lifelong training to put the comfort of others above your own survival. Since childhood, the world trained you to carry the emotional weight of the room. You learned that your value rested on your ability to fix broken things. When you drop the burden, your brain registers your empty hands as a profound failure. You confuse the absence of exploitation with a lack of purpose, sparking a fierce internal conflict. Psychology names this friction cognitive dissonance. You do not actually feel guilty for hurting them. You are experiencing the raw withdrawal symptoms of breaking a trauma bond. Your mind craves the familiar, exhausting chaos because this new peace feels dangerous and unearned. The nervous system takes time to trust the stillness. It interprets the sudden quiet as the calm before a devastating storm. You must weather this uncomfortable transition with radical self-compassion. Tears will fall during the ghost era. The sudden waves of sorrow often catch you off guard. You weep for connections you intentionally severed, questioning your own judgment. Understand the true nature of this grief. You are not mourning the actual people you left behind in the wreckage. You mourn the shining potential of who you desperately wanted them to be. You grieve the persistent illusion of reciprocity. The fantasy of a mutually supportive relationship shatters, leaving you holding the sharp, bleeding fragments of reality. It hurts to admit that your relentless devotion could not miraculously force them to love you correctly. Let the grief wash over your tired bones without resistance. Acknowledge the painful death of the fantasy. These individuals never existed in the way your hopeful heart painted them. You spent years projecting your own massive capacity for love onto people equipped only with a ruthless capacity for consumption. Forgive yourself for falling in love with a mirage. You did the best you could with a spirit designed to find a sliver of light in suffocating darkness. This realization brings a harsh but necessary sting. It strips away the lingering remnants of your savior complex. You finally see that pouring endless water into a cracked vase will never make the vessel whole. The old structures of your life must burn to the ground. You must incinerate the friendships built on your silent suffering. Let the fire take the family dynamic sustained by your endless, exhausting compliance. Burn the romantic bonds tethered to your constant emotional regulation. Watch the flames consume them all. You owe these hollow structures zero allegiance and no further life force. Stepping away from the ash is the bravest, most authentic action you will ever take. People will stand in the distance pointing fingers at the smoke. They will call you selfish for prioritizing your oxygen over their comfort. Let them judge the ashes. Their opinions hold no weight in the sanctuary you constructed. As the smoke finally clears, a fierce lightness takes root in your chest. The misplaced guilt evaporates, replaced by a cold, undeniable truth. You realize you cannot save anyone who remains committed to their own drowning. You accept that their refusal to swim is not your personal failure. The ghost era purges the toxic poison of false responsibility from your veins. You finally stand in the open clearing, breathing the clean air of your own sovereignty, untouchable by the demands of your past. The ghost era was never designed to be your permanent residence. It served as a crucible. The profound isolation acted as a necessary cocoon for your fractured nervous system. One quiet morning, the sunlight shifts across your floor, and you notice a vital difference in your body. The heavy, suffocating dread vanished. Your breath moves with a steady, powerful rhythm. You survived the darkness. You prepare to step back into the world, but you are not the same person who disappeared. The architecture of your mind underwent a violent, beautiful reconstruction. You entered the shadows as a bleeding target. You emerge wearing impenetrable armor. The most radical transformation occurred within your energetic boundaries. For your entire life, you functioned as a human sponge. A sponge possesses no defenses. It absorbs the toxic sludge just as readily as it drinks clean water holding the poison until it rots from the inside out. You discarded the sponge. You evolved into a pristine silver mirror. When people bring you their unhealed chaos now, you do not internalize their frantic vibrations. You stand like stone. You reflect their behavior back to them with cold clarity. If they approach you with covert manipulation, they see their own deceit staring back. If they project their raging insecurities onto your peace, the mirror repels the attack. You refuse to digest their psychological poison. Your mirror neurons no longer mimic their panic. Your internal sanctuary remains flawless and undisturbed. This shift infuriates the emotional parasites. They will attempt to test the perimeter of your new boundaries. They will arrive armed with their usual manufactured crises, expecting you to collapse into your old role of the sacrificial savior. They will pull the invisible strings of obligation that used to control your every move. The strings are cut. Your amygdala no longer fires a frantic warning signal when someone expresses disappointment in your refusal to bleed for them. You observe their frustration with detached curiosity. You watch them scramble for access to your energy, but the vault remains locked. This is the zenith of true emotional intelligence. You mastered the art of witnessing another person's storm without letting a single drop of their rain touch your skin. Let them call you arrogant. Let them mourn the compliant, exhausted version of you that died in the silence. Their judgments bounce off your armor like hollow arrows. You no longer require external validation to justify your existence. Your worth sits anchored in the solid bedrock of your own self-respect. You built a nervous system that prioritizes its own equilibrium over the erratic demands of a hungry crowd. Moving forward, your inner circle becomes an exclusive fortress. You demand unwavering reciprocity. The connections you forge now require mutual emotional regulation, shared effort, and a profound reverence for your limits. The energy vampires will take one look at your unyielding boundaries and retreat into the shadows. They will seek softer, unprotected targets to consume. Their departure is not a tragic loss. It is a vital biological victory. You walk through the modern world with a quiet, lethal grace. Your presence commands respect without uttering a single demand. You know the exact devastating cost of your peace, and you will never sell your serenity at a discount again. The Ghost Era taught you that your psychological energy is your most precious currency. You guard it with the fierce intensity of a predator protecting its territory. Take a slow breath and feel the steel in your spine. You reclaimed the throne of your own life. We understand the quiet violence of this transformation here at Velvet Energy. This sanctuary exists for those who survived the fire of their own empathy. If you are currently navigating your own ghost era, or if you recently emerged with your armor intact, share your journey in the comments below. We read your stories. We honor your silent battles. Your experiences hold immense power, and your words might serve as a guiding lantern for someone still wandering, lost in the dark. Rest your armor here for a moment. You are safe among your own kind.